Hey, welcome back to another edition of the Friday Show, brought to you by Rowayton, standing in Mooresville, Pennsylvania, Diamond B, the only son of Into Mischief standing in Pennsylvania, or Maryland for that matter. We'll have a little bit more about him later in the show. I'm Ray Paulick here with Bloodstock editor Joe Nevills and a special guest, Chris Griffin, track announcer at Sam Houston Race Park in Texas. I met Chris a number of years ago at Pleasanton when he was calling the races at the fair up there. And Chris, welcome to the Friday Show.
It's great. Great to be here. Great to see you again. And yeah, I think we raffled off hats or something, Ray. I think we even got you to dig in the fishbowl and pick out a few names and get some winners that day. That seems like a long time ago.
I think those were the only winners that I had that day. The ones that I picked out of the barrel, because I know we did a handicapping seminar. Well, Chris, you're at Sam Houston. The Houston Racing Festival in January was a record setter, and then you came into February with a lot of momentum, and then, like a lot of the country, especially in the South, the deep freeze hit.
Yeah, it was. Things continue to go well here at Sam Houston Race Park, and we have a very positive attitude about how things have gone. And 2020 ended in an untimely fashion and had some weird things happen, obviously with COVID, and everybody knows that. And then, yeah, Houston Racing Festival was a fantastic Sunday afternoon. We had great weather, record handle, as you pointed out, and bettors have really responded. And then we got into February, and things were moving right along, as you said. And Texas Preview Day, we were set last weekend. And then the weather really did roll in, and for this region in Texas, and I'm new here, so I haven't lived through the hurricanes and things and that have happened here in the Houston area, especially. But this was something that it was hard to prepare for from a regional standpoint. I think we've all seen some very cold weather, freezing temps at times, but for it to happen in Houston. Texas, but in Houston, as far as what I'm going to talk about, it was a unique situation. It was a bit scary at times, and we got through it. And here at Sam Houston Race Park, obviously, I know a lot of people were concerned with the backside and then the care of the horses and everything that was going on, because I think your immediate thought, if you're involved in horse racing, is, and it should be, is that, how are the horses going to be handling the conditions and what we're going to go through. So there was a plan in place, and a lot of things happened, and we can kind of get into that a little bit. But I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be back racing. You see, I'm in a polo shirt now, which is very exciting because it's warmed up significantly here this week, and we're ready to get back to the racing. But yeah, last week was just a very trying, difficult time where we all had to work together.
Yeah, and such a unique challenge too. What was kind of the general vibe around the track, and especially the barns, leading up to the storm itself, and then as you got through a really difficult week?
Yeah, Joe. So we got through the prior week, and then there was some added training on Sunday because we were anticipating the weather. I mean, we knew the weather was coming. You knew that there was going to be some cold temperatures. There were some things that you couldn't prepare for, but we knew the weather was coming. We knew Monday we were going to be closed. And if you go to the website, shrp.com, under Horseman Info, there was a winter weather plan for 2021 if people want to check that out. But Monday was the toughest day probably overall. Tuesday, things kind of stayed the same. Wednesday, we started to see a little bit of a shift. We were really waiting for the temperatures to come back up. The thing is it got so low that once you got to that point when you're in the teens, when you're in 10 degrees, 11 degrees, 15 degrees, it was very difficult to gauge kind of how you can operate and function at that time, because we were planning on being open for simulcasting on Monday. But as fate would have it, we couldn't do it. We lost power around Monday early morning. I stay pretty close to the racetrack, so I knew when I lost power, I knew that the track was going to lose some power, and so we were dealing with that. I knew at that point maybe this is going to be a different situation, because we did think it was going to be rolling outages, and again, national news, they covered that plenty, but it turned into an outage, not a rolling outage. So myself, I was out of power for about 36 hours, I would say 36 to 38 hours. The track does have some power, some generators for some aspects of the grandstand area and the facility. But again, the concern went for the backside and the horses. So the main concerns became pipes start to freeze, water becomes an issue. I lost power. I had water for probably another 6 hours. I lost water. And so again, that's when you start to really put plans in, or not really plans, but action in place to try and figure out what we can do. So on Monday, everything was kind of shut down, and it was a difficult time on the backside. I'm sure, I wasn't back there the entire day, but I'm sure that the folks in the dorms and the grooms and the people that are taking at the horses, you could see a lot of blankets being brought out. You could see a lot of people working very hard. And then as we got into Tuesday, the situation didn't change as much. Wednesday, we started to see some power come back. And then we were making decisions at that point whether to cancel some of the cards Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We were taking it day by day. And then as far as how the barns were prepared, it started to become, once the power started to come back, it wasn't consistent power until about late Wednesday. So you had to kind of take that as it went. And then the water became the issue as well, because you need to make sure that you've got water. So what we did was we brought in some potable gallons, some potable water basically, and brought in several thousand gallons. We're coming up with a plan for horsemen to be able to get water from those tanks and supply the horses with the water that was needed. And then there were some opportunities to turn the water back on. We had to be really cautious because, again, if you've dealt with frozen pipes and you've dealt with frigid conditions like this, you have to be careful when you turn the water on that things just don't go spraying everywhere. And so a few years back, and I talked to senior management about this, and they had worked on the pipes and some of the insulation on the water here at Sam Houston Race Park. It's still a relatively young facility, 27 years, in racing. So as far as racetracks go, it's still pretty young, but have looked at the pipe systems and the insulation on it, and have worked on that. And there's obviously room for improvement, but everyone was working together. Management was on site. And as far as how the barns were dealing with it, I was able to get out there, I want to say it was Tuesday. And when we started to turn the water on for intervals, so we had it on for a couple hours here and there. We were watching the situation. You want to make sure pipes aren't bursting left and right. Filled up those potable tanks to refill those and have some water on hand for them to be able to fill some buckets. And you did see a lot of horsemen coming with their buckets and filling them up and taking care of the horses. I mean, at the end of the day, where we're at in this sport and what we wanted to do here, we have a great wagering product and everything else, but you got to work on the backside and keep the horses safe. So I think everyone worked together. All credit to the horsemen and women to be able to deal with those conditions, because you're not only thinking about yourself, you're thinking about a barn full of thoroughbreds that are ready to run. And so they missed a bit of training and getting onto the track, but we were able to get back on the track on Saturday. It looked like projections were going to be on Sunday. We had canceled the card about midweek. Once we canceled, then we said, what's the plan? Because the track wasn't really in a condition at that point with the ice, frozen temperatures. Temperature just wasn't rising enough to where we were comfortable. So management made the decision, and we moved everything to this week. So things are improving, but hats off to just the people that work so hard. I'm an announcer, and I was helping out in any way I could. I was driving my car around and trying to look for any pipe bursts or anything like that, and really trying to chip in where I could. It's the best I can do in that situation. But I know the racetrack chaplaincy was working hard to take care of the folks on the backside. Our kitchen, the kitchen here at SHRP, Margot, bless her, she was able to actually get her food truck out, and she was able to get some food to some of the folks as well. So it was a trying time. It was something that Houston, I haven't been here that long, so I don't know how often they deal with something like this. Maybe once in a decade, I don't know, but it's something that I hope to never really experience or go through again, because it was difficult for a couple days. A lot of people still had it tough, and now we're back. So
are things back? Is everything back to normal in terms of power and water now?
Yeah, so power and water, we're good to go. Everything is back to normal functioning here at Sam Houston Race Park. They're going to evaluate some of the pipes and stuff like that. The damage was minimal to my knowledge as far as that's concerned. There's always going to be work to be done and improvements that can be made. I don't think anybody really anticipated, I don't think the state anticipated the power outages and the water outages to be as significant as they were. So everyone was really adjusting to that plan. But yeah, we're back up and running. Everything is full go. Our facility held up well. And the track, they started working on the track, like I said, last Friday. And once the TrackMan was able to get back out there and take a look at things, once they worked on the track, they felt it was good enough to get back on Saturday. And we had close to 800 horses ready to get out of the barn and get on the race. So, so we had quite a few horses on the track on Saturday, adjusted the hours on Sunday, Monday, and then I think we're starting to see some normalcy now.
Well, you're back just in time. Texas preview day is this Saturday. You've got 5 stakes races, first post of 5:40 p.m. Central Time. And I don't know anything about this part of the sport, but you're leading off with a couple of Arabian races.
Yeah, so we were in a unique position, obviously, with missing some of the races last week, that we were adding some races, and we running 12 on Wednesday and Thursday, and then coming up to Friday still a normal 10, and then Saturday we kept those thoroughbred races kind of intact. We didn't redraw Texas Preview Day, so you already knew that you had those races, but we had to make sure that we got the Arabian Stakes races in there as well. Because we run at night, you can't really start at 6:45. I don't know who would be listening to Chris Griffin at Sam Houston Race Park in the midnight hour here in the Central Time Zone. They'd probably be shutting me off at that point. Maybe on the West Coast. West Coast might be listening a little bit, but so we did a special first post time 5:40. We'll run those 2 stakes events early on the card, first 2 races, and then our first thoroughbred race will still start at 6:45. And again, you look at that, it's also for our live attendance. If people come with the expectation that first post time is going to be 6:45, then we want to make sure that we've got something kind of in line with what their expectation might be when they come to the track. So they are going to see that first thoroughbred race at 6:45.
Mm-hmm. And anyone who knows me knows how much I love the Arabians. I won't dwell on a thoroughbred racing interview, but I'm glad to see a big spotlight for them. 2 big ones this weekend. But looking at the thoroughbred card itself, is there a particular race, field, horse that you're excited about, that you're looking forward to seeing on Saturday?
So from a wagering standpoint, there's probably two parts to that. I think Star of the North is such an interesting horse in the 2 Altozano, because from a condition standpoint, she qualifies for the race because it's part of the Texas Stallion Series. She's going to have a massive rooting section in Minnesota, of all places, on this stakes, because she's Minnesota bred. She's so nice to look at. I saw her in the barn. She's just got a real good look about her, and she's fast, and she's able to run in some of these restricted state events. Because of her breeding. She's by a Texas Stallion in the hunk, and that has put her in this position. She won so easily last time out. The number came back okay, but I think she has every right to improve, and I think she's going to be a name to watch. I think she's going to win a lot of races. She's going to be odds on. So from a value standpoint, I'm not giving you any value there. I think Star of the North is going to be a very tough favorite to handle. Direct Dial is going to be another very tough favorite to handle. I do think that when you get over to let me page through my notes here as I've got I think the Houston Turf is interesting. Redditori, I want to give this horse one more. This is a Texas-bred horse of the year based off of the voting and how it went. But Sunlit Song is the now horse. So, Sunlit Song is going to be a very short price. Mindy Willis has this horse, and it's hard to say career form because this horse has been so consistent. But Redditori, I know that Alan Dupe, speaking with him, he likes how Redditori is coming into the race. He felt like the horse needed some time off. He likes this turf horse here, the John B. Connolly turf course at SHRP, and he's going to be value. He's going to be 4-1. Raylu Gutierrez for the first time is going to get a leg up. It's kind of interesting to note from a pedigree standpoint too that Bubba Bling runs in the race right before that, and they're siblings. I mean, how often do you see that siblings are going to run? Alan Dupe actually dips in, claims Bubba Bling. I'm sure he has a real affection for that pedigree. He claims Bubba Bling. He's going to run him in the state, the H-Town right before that, and then his brother gets to go ahead and run in the Houston Turf. So Redditori, I'm going to give him one more shot here. I think if he can get back to some of his form, he'll be nice. And if you catch him at 4-1 on a horse of the year, why not, right? And then in the Jim's orbit, I felt like Carbon Striker. I think the change in post may make that favorite a little more vulnerable. It's 0-2 at 6 furlongs, 0-2 at that distance, and it's going to be a real short price. I actually think Island Sun has got a big chance. I think Island Sun really needed that race coming back. Stuart Elliott, Steve Asmussen, we talked about them already, and those connections and how they've done really all meet here at SHRP. And you get 6-1 on those connections on a horse that I feel like is going to improve. The horse went to Danny Pish for that one start and now back with Steve Asmussen. So here for, a barn that everyone knows, an ownership in Farish, and a breeding program in Farish that they just know how to put out really nice Texas-breds in like a direct dial type situation. But Island Sun, I think, has a right to improve. 6-1, another one that offers value. We got to get some prices, right? I mean, I remember when I did those handicapping seminars there with Ray, he was giving nothing but prices, and you got to find that value somewhere. So that's what we're going to try and do. But just hoping for some good racing. Of course, there is some rain possibly in the forecast, as if we haven't seen that enough, but it's like about a 30 or 40% chance. So we'll see how it plays out.
Well, we're glad to see that things are back to normal. It's a really rough time. Whenever the national news focuses on your city, it's because of the weather. It's not a good thing. And we're just happy that everybody pulled together, got through it. You've got the big Texas preview day this Saturday. And then next month, March 20th, is Texas Champions Day, which this is the preview for. So, Chris, we want to thank you for joining us. Good luck to everybody there at Sam Houston. I know that you'll have limited attendance on Saturday night. Is that correct?
Yeah, so limited attendance, and we're still able to get some fans in here. They got to wear masks. They're going to hear reminders from me up in the booth. But, yeah, we are able to have fans on site and just trying to keep everyone safe and keep things going here at Sam Houston. And we're looking forward to a great weekend. And I do, if we have a little bit of time, I do want to thank everybody. A lot of messages and a lot of people reaching out, you guys included, but just kind of reaching out to people in this region. And I know it means a lot to the people here. And I just give all credit to management here at Sam Houston Race Park, but also to the horsemen that are working on the backside, because we want to remember the grooms and the hardworking people that just work back there, that were working through some really, really difficult conditions last week and got through it. And as we say, it's going to become a positive. So we're really looking forward to it, and just hoping everybody keeps safe. Hopefully these horses keep being able to enter and running in some good racing here in Houston, Texas. And we're really looking forward to it. So Thank you, everyone.
Well, great. Thanks for joining us. And we'll be watching on Saturday night.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, guys.
Okay. All right. Now we've got a word from Glenn Brock, who stands Rowayton at his Diamond B farm in Mooresville, Pennsylvania.
We have a new horse, Rowayton, that we're very excited about. He's an Into Mischief out of an Indian Charlie mare. He was second to Game Winner in the Del Mar Futurity, narrowly beaten, and Game Winner, of course, went on to be the champion 2-year-old that year. He was 2/10 off the track record at Belmont, and just a very, very useful. In that race, he came from off the pace. Other races, he showed speed and was on the lead. I love the influence of the Indian Charlie. Into Mischief is the hottest sire in the country, and he's owned by an organization that's going to support him with not only with mares, but supporting the industry by buying a lot of nice horses, and that's OXO Larry Best.
Our thanks to Glenn Brock at Diamond B and to Larry Best of OXO Equine that owns Rowayton. And now it's time for a toast to Vino Rosso. Joe, take it away.
So this time around, we're turning our focus on a history-making filly. This is actually the first foal out of Vino Rosso, born at Brandywine Farm in Paris, Kentucky on January 5th. She's the second foal out of the Malibu Moon mare Shine Time. And I caught up with breeder Pam Robinson the other day, and she mentioned a lot of things that you like to see in a foal. She's correct, she's balanced, precocious, but she was also clear to note the filly's mind. Said she loved people from day one and not afraid of a thing. She'll just march right up to you and expect attention. Now, Brandywine Farm bred 4 mares to Vino Rosso last year, and Pam said that they hardly ever go in so hard on one stallion. So that's a heck of an endorsement. And judging by this first foal, so far so good. And that's our toast to Vino Rosso.
Thanks, Joe, and thanks to Spencer Farm. We'll see you next week on The Friday Show.